Right, here we go. Back for another session of RG Bargy. Love it. Absolutely love it. Right. Coffee at the hand, microphone ready to go as always. Let's go. Well, good morning, afternoon, good evening, whatever time of the day it is you decide to listen to this podcast. As always, welcome back to another episode of the Mirror Army podcast. Well, I would say good morning to you right now because it is the morning time as I'm recording this on a Thursday morning, sitting here after a adventurous, should we say, day yesterday in Belfast with my son. It was a good day. I'll talk about that shortly. But anyway, yes, guys, good morning or good afternoon or good evening. Welcome back to the Mirror Army podcast. A few things to talk about today on the podcast, as always. Got some of your great questions, as always, at the end of the episode, the answer to. But it's been a good 2 days since the last time I spoke to you, especially yesterday. I had a lot of fun with Lewis yesterday, which I'll talk to you about in just a wee second. But before we go any further in the podcast today, guys, sorry I sound a bit groggy this morning. It's just I'm only awake for about an hour and a half, and I'm sort of trying to get things done around the house before I get my morning coffee into me, as always. I know. Before we go any further in the podcast today, guys, you know the drill if you're a regular listener to the podcast. Obviously, let you know how you can contact us. You can contact us here at the Mirror Army Podcast by the following methods. The email, mirrorarmypodcast@yahoo.com. The old social media, Instagram, you can contact me on there, official Matthew Mirror. Also on the Facebook Mirror Army YouTube channel on there. And also our website, mirrorarmy.co.uk. And before we also go any further into the podcast today, don't forget to check out our friends and partners here of the Mirror Army Podcast and the Mirror Army in general, FTBL Spot. If you're listening to us here on YouTube right now, please subscribe to this channel. We'd appreciate it. Also check out the link in the description for FTBL Spot. Check them out on Facebook and Instagram as well, and Twitter, for all your football needs, whether it be your classic football shirts, mystery shirt in a box, football boots, and more. That's FTBL Spot. FTBL Spot. If you're on their website, through their social media links, and you contact them and say you're part of the Mirror Army, they will give you a discount code to give you discount on all your orders. So it's FTBL Spot. Good guys, good friends here at the Mirror Army Podcast and the Mirror Army in general. Anyway, that's that out of the way. But before I go into the podcast today, I just want to clear up a few things, guys. And I've had a lot of people over the last, year and a half, ask these same questions all the time. And I think I've already maybe addressed this before, but I just want to sort of get this out here right now. Especially in recent months and recent times since the podcast has come back. Now, this podcast is called Mirror Army Podcast Unleashed for a reason. Now, over a year or so ago, whenever we launched this podcast, before we took a year's break from being on the air, I put a poll on social media because we used to do this podcast Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesday was family friendly. Thursday was a wee bit more sort of edgier, where you could sort of say a wee bit more and stuff like that. And whenever I used to look at the figures and stuff like that from the listens of the podcast, you used to see a complete landslide of difference between Tuesdays and Thursdays. Now I understand there's people out there who only like certain type of podcasts. Me, I like my certain types of podcasts. Everybody's different. Everybody's got an opinion. That's why I always say in this podcast, RG Bargy, bit of banter, back and forward, views. I want to hear people's opinions on certain things and stuff like that. But when I put that poll out and I asked the people, even people to DM me on Facebook, Messenger, on the Facebook fan page, on Instagram, people came in a landslide and wanted the unleashed version because, again, they like a podcast where a guy just tells it as it is. Okay, and not a lot of people like that, because I do remember reading some of the emails back a while back where people were saying, oh, it's disgusting, it should be the single family friendly podcast and all, blah, blah, blah. Look, listen, everybody has their opinion. And I have my opinion on certain things. But in the last couple of weeks, people have been coming in saying, like, as I said as many a time in the podcast, because I've had opinions on certain things, people obviously come in because you get hate from everywhere. People saying that I'm a homophobic, I'm a genderphobic, I'm this, I'm that. But in recent weeks, people have been coming in saying that I'm a bit of a hypocrite and whatever else because I say about, calling people crazy and bonkers and whatever else because and obviously I have my own mental health issues and stuff like that. Here's the bottom line, right? When I see things that are not right in a normal mindset of life, I've been brought up pretty old school, basic. When I see something that's just not normal, I call it out. If I see people super gluing themselves to a road or destroying properties because other people don't have beliefs, or people are walking down the street believing that they're an animal, I think that's my opinion on that. That's not me being a hypocrite. That's me calling a spade and calling people who are just completely crazy. And again, maybe they have their mental health problems. I don't know. But a lot of them don't because they're being brainwashed by the crazy world that we live in today. And if I have an opinion on that, then that's my opinion. Now, I'm not having a knock on anybody. I'm just saying that, I have a view on, and this is what this podcast is for. I read out some stories that's going on in the world. I answer your questions. People mail me all the time asking me questions about, the way that the school systems are in the world now, or the way this is, and I just answer it honestly in my opinion. But at the end of the day, guys, if we live in a world where someone can have an opinion, then, it's not really much of a world to live in, is it? You know what I mean? And this is the thing. I'm not having a knock on it. I'm just calling it the way I see it. The bottom line is, this is my podcast, and I talk about things that in my life that affect me, or things that I see that I think's crazy, or I think things that are not right. If I see something that the government's doing, like, for example, recently been talking about the elderly and all, and whether they're having their fuel payment taken off them and stuff, and I thought it was disgusting. I call a spade a spade. I'm not here to knock anybody with their mental health or nothing like that, because I'm not. If anybody there has mental health problems, I've preached on this podcast many times, go get help. Like I have. I'm currently going through therapy and treatment and everything. But if I see something that's just not naturally normal, I'm going to call it out and say, look, why the hell is that person running around dressed like a dog or a cat, or they're going around saying that if I don't believe in their beliefs, then I should be cancelled and shut down and have my mouth shut up or put in jail or whatever. I'm sorry. It's. I have an opinion on things, and as I've always said to people, I met a lovely guy on a train yesterday, and he even turned to me, I love your podcast and all that there. I met another guy in Belfast yesterday too, and he said to me, look, listen, if people don't believe what you want to believe in, Matthew, then why should you have to be held back and not say what you want to say? Because there's people out there who are screaming from the rooftops, crawling for attention, because then if you don't believe what they believe in, then you should be put into a box somewhere and locked away and cancelled. No, I'm afraid not. Like, as I said, I'm not having to dig at anybody in particular here, but I'm just saying that the point is, I've had a good few bit of emails coming in from people saying, oh, you're a hypocrite because you're saying people are crazy and loonies and all because you don't agree with what their narrative is. But they don't agree with what I say. So I'm supposed to sit back and believe what they believe. But if I don't believe what they believe, then it's a whole big, oh no, Matthew should be cancelled. Doesn't work that way. Two-way street in this world. Again, at the end of the day, I call a spade a spade. Like, for example, 2 years ago in London, I confronted them oil protesters, and I asked them why they're doing it. Straight to the point, asked them a simple question, why they're doing it, and one of them just went into this whole rant with me, saying, oh, you don't believe in this, no, you're a bad person for not believing. I'm going to myself, no, I'm not a bad person. Just because I don't believe in what you do, because you want to tie yourself to a street corner or a street road and stop traffic coming through, ambulances as well going to hospitals and people trying to get to work every day, because I don't believe in that, I'm a bad person and I should be criticised for it. It doesn't work that way. Sorry, but I have my views, people have their views. As I said to you, this is an open podcast. I talk about everything. If people send me a question and say to me, well, I didn't agree with what you said there, that's fine. That's your view. I may not agree with what you say, but at the end of the day, I'm me, and I've grown as a person in this last 10 years as a human being. Guys, I grew up a very quiet little boy who dared to speak up, dared to speak out, never said a word to anybody, and now where it's like, if you don't speak up and you don't say your opinion on things, then you're just going to be left to basically sit in the corner and rot to nothing. And from all the social media bullying and trolling and all I've been through, and all the bullying I've been through as a kid and stuff like that, has made me a stronger person to stand up for my beliefs and stand up what I believe in. And if people don't like and believe what I believe in, then keep your opinions to yourself. Don't go around forcing me to try and believe what you believe, because at the end of the day, if I don't believe what you believe in, then that's my choice. And if you don't believe who I am, like I still get people all the time contact me saying, "Oh, Matthew, your videos are crap. I don't like you anymore. I think you're this and that." And people call me names all the time, like setting up fake email accounts and all just to troll this podcast. In my opinion, that's somebody who has no life, and they're sad and they need to get themselves a life, and they're a bit bonkers because they're taking time out of their day to create fake accounts to troll somebody. You tell me that's not right. That's messed up. You don't see me going on the social media and trolling people and going, "Oh, I don't like your TV show," or "I don't like this. I think you should go and jump off a fucking car park," or "You should go and..." Guys, I've had emails people tell me to go and kill myself. Like literally tell me to go and kill myself because they don't like me. So for me to stand up to that and say, "Hang on here, no, I don't believe in your beliefs. I think you're a fucking Looney Tune because you're telling me to go and kill myself because you don't like my videos, which I make for fun as a hobby." I'm sorry. No, I'm going to turn around and say to you, there's something not right there, because you're coming to me and telling me to go and kill myself. No, that's not right. It's like me walking down a random street to somebody and looking at them and going, "I don't like the look of you. Do yourself a favour, go kill yourself." No, that's horrible. That is fucking cruel. That's evil. So in closing, I am calling a spade a spade. I've had people even come into me the last couple of weeks and say about this illegal immigration thing, "Why do you keep talking about it?" Because it's a main subject. It's going on in this world right now. We're concerned people. I'm not the only one concerned. My neighbours are concerned. Friends and family are concerned. People who I see in a supermarket all the time are concerned because they're concerned for their country. They're concerned about their safety and their kids and their wives. And people might say, "Oh, but you're being racist because you're labeling all these men with the same brush." Figures don't lie. Things are happening. All these things are happening. And I'm just calling it as it is. So, listen, I understand. I've had people come into me saying, "Oh, you swear too much in the podcast," and all. That's why the podcast is called Unleashed. I'm not the only person in the world that's a podcast that's swearing. Big podcasters out there swear all the time. So, I'm not sure they get all the same hate that I do. At the end of the day, there's an old saying goes, if you don't like the programme you're watching on telly, if you don't like the radio station you're listening to, or you don't like something that's in your life, switch off and walk away. It's as simple as that. And people say to me about my videos and on YouTube as well, they're going down a certain road. I've had a couple of people say to me, "I'm going down a certain road." Listen, I'm just doing videos of what I do. For example, I done a video yesterday in Belfast. I had a couple of emails last night from it saying, "Oh, what are you doing up there?" and all, blah, 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 blah. Listen, I done a few vlogs yesterday in Belfast. The first one was me and Lewis. He wanted to go to a certain place to get one of these croissant things, whatever it was, and he wanted to go there. And then he actually wanted to go up the Shankill Road because there's a wee shop in Belfast, and the Shankill Road, it's called Glover's. It's a wee shop where you go and you get all your wee knicky-knack stuff and all your wee gadgets and all for around your house and stuff like that. Plus, Lewis was looking for a small fan for his bedroom because of the heat at the minute, because it's too bloody warm, and the fact that he keeps stealing mine. And people were emailing me last night on Instagram saying, "Oh, what are you doing up there?" and all, blah, 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 blah. What are you doing up? Like people from a Catholic, I had a couple of people from Catholic communities and Catholic Instagram accounts slandering me and calling me everything because I was up that road. "What are you doing up in that fucking loyalist area and all that here?" And some of them reply me with like tricolour flags and all beside. And I'm going to myself, is this world really full of that much hatred that they just find things on the internet to come back and pick at you? And then people were saying like, "Oh, and then at the end of my vlog, I mentioned about an wee quick video that I recorded because we were coming down the road and we're around to this shop in Belfast that sold, I saw the dartboards, because I love my darts. Dartboards and darts and backgrounds for dartboards and all that there. And in the shop as well, they had these like airsoft, not them places you go to and you run around all padded up and you shoot each other with airsoft pellets and all that there. And they had that big wall full of them guns and stuff like that. And Lewis saw them and he's like, oh, Dad, let's go and have a look at those. They look pretty cool. Now, obviously they're not, they're not loaded with pellets or anything like that. They're just on display. And because I mentioned that it's coming up on a vlog, I had like 4 or 5 messages on Instagram last night saying, oh, you're taking your gun to your Sunday shooting range. You should be ashamed of yourself. What? Shooting range? Where? When? Hi. So again, guys, what I'm saying is, and before we move on anywhere in the podcast today, at the end of the day, this podcast was called Unleashed for a reason. You know what I mean? Now, when it first became Unleashed, I was swearing, and I must admit I was swearing quite a bit because some of the subjects were really pissing me off. But if a certain thing happens, like for example, I was talking about the other day about that young girl who's all over the news at the minute, about getting taken out of school because of her Union Jack dress, and because I swore 2 or 3 times, because I was enraged about it, picking on a fucking 12-year-old child over being offended over a dress. I had a couple of emails the other night I was reading through, actually last night, one of them saying, oh, you should be ashamed of yourself and all, you should be multicoloured and all, you don't respect the flag and all, you should respect the LGBTQ flag, that's the real flag of the UK. And I'm going, what? I was talking about a child being unlawfully removed from school because she was wearing a Union Jack dress. Some people are just, and I don't care what anybody says, they're just looking for a reaction. So that's why I thought I'd come on the podcast today to clear a few things up. And at the end of the day, guys, if you don't like what I have to say in the podcast, just switch it off. You know what I mean? If you're listening to me on TuneIn Radio or Spotify or Apple Music, just remove it. But I do get a lot of people who contact me and say, look, listen, I love your views. They're great. What's your view on this, by the way? Can you talk about this? Can you talk about that? And there's certain subjects I can't talk about because at the end of the day, there's certain subjects that would obviously get you kicked off the air. And at the end of the day, I sit here on a Tuesday and a Thursday morning, I get up early in the mornings, record a podcast because I like to talk. And I like to listen to the fans, and I like to communicate with people, and I like to listen to what they have to say. But if you're going to come in and call me a hypocrite and a racist and not there, then take your opinions elsewhere. Because at the end of the day, I come on here and recently, as I said earlier on there, oh, you're being a hypocrite because of mental health matter. Look, listen, there's a spectrum of different mental health problems. And at the end of the day, if I see somebody running up and down the street dressed as a dog and a cat, thinking they actually are a dog and a cat, I'm not saying they have mental health problems. I just said they're brainwashed. A lot of them are brainwashed because of this whole society now. And do you know what I blame the most? The internet. The internet and social media. And because I actually remember reading a question last night, which I'm going to read out today on the podcast, from a fan on Instagram, said to me last night about social media and the internet. All these trends are going on at the internet and all these young ones are being brainwashed. I've watched a couple of recent YouTubers and people in the news and all saying about the same thing about this generation. I even seen it myself in Belfast yesterday. People walk around with mobile phones stuck to their face, constantly stuck to their face. They believe in all these things that are going on in the world. All these young ones being influenced by these creepy people online as well. All these. I could get into it all day. So the bottom line is, guys, I don't come on here to knock. I'm a big supporter of mental health, by the way. So if anybody says I'm not, then keep your opinions to yourself. But listen, I call a spade, and I'm not the only one there who sees it. Other big people who are 100 million times bigger than me are calling it out on social media the way the world is right now. All these people going around doing all these stupid things and all these beliefs and all, which are just completely insane. Why they do all this and all. But at the end of the day, and if I've offended anybody, then if you're offended by what I have to say, then I grew up in a generation where if you didn't like something or you're offended by something, you switched it off. But if you're still sticking around and you want to listen to what I have to say, then thank you very much for that. Thank you for your support. Thank you for listening to me, because I do appreciate it. But the bottom line is, I've learned, especially in this last couple of years, that I am me as a person. I don't change for anybody. And it's not me being egotistical and big-headed, because I grew up for years, guys, being a very quiet, softly spoken, always told what to do, controlled, bullied a lot, never was scared to speak up, scared to stand up to people because they didn't know what the repercussions were going to be. But now, not a chance. I smell bullshit and a red flag a mile away. And that's just the way I am now. And I'm not being big-headed about it. Even when I meet people in the street, I'm just the same person who you see on YouTube and the podcast you listen to. I'm the same person. Met a guy on the train on the way home yesterday. And I was just me, chatting away to him. We were joking about and laughing and talking about the world, talking about football, and he turned around to me and says, Matty, you're just the same way as what you were on YouTube and all. You're a legend. I mean, thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. And I met another wee young guy in Belfast yesterday, and he was the same. Oh, you're just the same as what you are on YouTube. I thought you would have been completely different. I'm like, no, I'm not a show. I'm just me. It's just the way I am. I don't change for nobody. So, guys, I hope that's cleared that up for you, because at the end of the day, I don't deliberately come on here to offend people and stuff like that. But if you're one of those easily triggered people, and every wee little thing that I say and you're triggered bad, then just do it the old-fashioned way. Get up, turn it off, and go and listen to somebody else. It's as simple as that. As I always say in my YouTube videos, you don't like, don't watch. Because the hate that I've received over YouTube and all, saying that I'm fake, and I remember one point a couple of years ago that I said people were saying that my kids were props and they weren't really my children. My family were actors. I'm obviously not the same person who I am in real life. When you meet me in the street, I talk to you the way I normally talk to anybody else. How's it going, mate? Nice to meet you. And I ask anybody who's met me, the first thing I always say to people is, oh, nice to meet you, how are you? And I always ask the person what their name is. Always. Because you get a lot of these YouTubers and celebrities and all sort of go, oh, nice to meet you and all, blah, 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 and away they go. I always take time to stop and go, no matter where you're from or who you are, or if you're with a crowd of people or whatever, over the years, I've always said to people, oh, nice to meet you, how are you? What's your name, sorry? Oh, nice to meet you. Thank you for watching the videos, I appreciate that. I always thank the people I meet in the street. Every time. I don't care whether they're where they come from, who they are, what religion they are. I don't give a shit. They come up to me and they go, oh, man, I love your videos and all. Or I've actually met ones over the years who've told me they don't like my videos, and I go, well, why is that? I just don't like your content. Okay, fair enough. That's fine. Do you still watch the videos? And then again. Okay, thanks. Thanks for the support. Because at the end of the day, guys, this world that we live in right now is completely messed up. Everything's just, it's hard to keep track of everything. So anyway, enough of that. I just wanted to clear that up. I know I've been talking for nearly 20 minutes already on the podcast, but I just wanted to get that out there because I've had a few emails recently from people, and they're saying that I'm a hypocrite and I'm this and I'm that. Look, listen, here's the bottom line, and I'm not afraid to admit this. I struggle 99% of the time of my days every day, but I get up and I try and move on with my life, and I try and make myself a better person compared to what I was back in 2013 when I almost took my own life, where I struggled with really strong mental health problems. My kids are my strength and my rock every single day. And if anybody wants to come in and say to me, oh, you're a hypocrite and mental health, I've had people even saying to me, oh, my mental health issues are all bullshit. Let me tell you something now, they're not. And I don't care what you have to say. And if you want to try and target me because of mental health, then obviously you have issues because you're taking time out of your day to go and try and make somebody else's life miserable, which is sad. So it is. So I just hope I've cleared that up. And again, if you hear the occasional F-bomb dropping here on the Unleashed podcast, by the way, remember that, then it's not me just being a complete balloon. It's just me voicing, if a certain subject comes up in the world and it really annoys the hell out of me, then I'm going to literally rant about it and talk about it. That's what this podcast is about. Anyway, moving on. Guys, I got some weird subjects to talk about today. First one being airports. Now, obviously, this is the time of year where everybody's going on holiday. Everybody's disappearing on holiday. And people always seem to get it. I've seen a lot of people on social media complain about these drop-off fees and car parks at the airport being excruciating prices. We're going to talk about that on the podcast today. Another big one that's sort of dropped over the last sort of 24 hours, our wonderful little Prime Minister, Mr. Starmer, is going to now allow 16 and 17-year-olds to vote in the next election. Is he really desperate for votes that much? The fact that he wants 16-year-olds to vote? More on that shortly. Also, we are going to talk about a Euro Millions winner in Ireland. This is a bit of an interesting story. What would you do if you became a millionaire? Would you change your life? Would you completely alter who you are as a person? Especially when you win, 250 million euro? We'll talk about that shortly as well. It's an interesting one. Also, I want to talk about summertime for kids and teenagers. You know, what do kids and teenagers do now in their summer? Oh, apart from going on holidays and stuff with their parents, what do they actually do with their summer holidays compared to what kids used to do, say, 25 years ago? You know what I mean? Even when I was a young teenager, what's the difference between then and now? You know, what is there out there for kids to do now in this generation? Because recently there was summer camps and all cancelled here in Northern Ireland because of political opinions and stuff like that. Let's talk about that as well here on the podcast as well. Also, before I go today, I want to talk about Jackass of the Week. I've asked you all for your opinion on Jackass of the Week since Tuesday, and I'm also going to get into some of your questions as well. So, anyway, fucking roasting in here today. Honest to God, the heat's wild. Even though it's supposed to be thunder and lightning today, but I don't know what's going to happen or not. I'm looking at the window here this morning at the sky, and I'm thinking to myself, is it going to rain? I don't know. I really don't know. But I want to take a wee scoop of water here before I continue on. As it is actually roasting here this morning. Excuse me. Oh, dear. Anyway, let's get into some of the subjects to talk about today. The first one being airports. UK airports have now raised they call it a kiss and fly fee. Now, whenever you go to an airport, you drop your relative off. You just drop them off and away you go. And you were getting some places were charging £1. People were trying to... Now they're charging fees are absolutely horrendous. Anything up to the rate of £7 to drop your person off. Now, it's not if you're parking there. You're literally just dropping them off at the airport saying, get your bag out of the boot of the car. Goodbye, have a lovely holiday, drive off. £7. What do you think about this, guys? Let me know what you think about this. You can give me an email or a message on social media. What do you think about this? £7 to drop your family member off at the airport? Seriously. It even got to the point where when Dad used to drop me off at the international airport, he would drop me off just down the street from it. So it would obviously be a 5-minute walk up the road. Because, again, he was being charged for drop-off fees. Now, when I fly to the city airport in Belfast, I normally just get the train because the train drops you right at the front door of the airport. You literally jump off the train, cross the bridge, down the steps, and you're in the airport. But £7 now, up to £7 to drop your family and friends off at the airport. Like, that is absolutely horrendous. Like, you know, I remember years ago we used to just do a drop-off point and away you go, bye, and away you go. It's not as if you're parking there. I understand you pay for your parking. There's the long stay car park and there's the short stay car parking thing, and that's completely understandable. You pay for your parking and all. That's fine. But my goodness, my God almighty, like dropping them off at the front door for like literally 30 seconds for them to jump out, grab their bag and say goodbye and jump, £7. That is just absolutely ridiculous, in my opinion. And I was reading through the story, well, a couple of different sources have put it out this morning saying the 10 busiest European airports could possibly even charge more. It says here, the Motoring Group found 11 out of 20 UK airports have put up prices since last July, with Gatwick, Bristol, Leeds and Southampton joining Stansted in charges from £7 onwards. Isn't that crazy? Now, I haven't checked the recent prices here in Northern Ireland because there's 2 airports. Well, there's 3. There's the wee small airport in Derry. There's obviously Dublin, which is in the Republic of Ireland, Belfast International and Belfast City Airport. Now, I haven't checked their recent fees. But from reading that, that's just... Why? It's mad. So it is. But let me know what you think about that, guys. Drop-off fees. I think it's absolutely ridiculous, the prices they're charging people now, which is crazy. Right, this is a wee interesting one. I woke up this morning and got my first coffee, and I switched on the TV and stuff, and everywhere I've looked across, and I thought I should have gone to the news channels and have a wee look this morning to see if there's any big mad stories out there. And the first thing I saw this morning was Keir Starmer apparently is letting 16 and 17-year-olds vote in the next election. They're not even adults; they're kids. Is he really that desperate for votes that he's letting 16 and 17-year-olds do it now? Now, apparently your man, Nigel Farage, has made a statement this morning coming out and saying that this is ridiculous. The story reads this morning, around 1.5 million 16 and 17-year-olds will be able to vote in the next general election under the government plans to lower voting age, which isn't going down too well this morning with people. Went on the social media, had a wee look around this morning, typed in the story titled the likes of, all the different social media platforms, including the crazy one X, which is just the platform I try and tend to stay off as much as I can, even though I have an account on there now. I know I went back onto it there a while back, but I don't really use that often now. But yeah, people are like in this general chat about it, saying like they're children, 16 and 17-year-olds. Okay, they're young adults, but they're still technically classed as teenagers. They're kids until they turn 18 to become an adult. I don't agree with it personally. I would like to hear what you guys think about it. Should a 16 and 17-year-old be allowed to vote? I don't think they should be. Because there's a lot of, obviously there's 16, 17-year-olds that do know all about politics, but there's ones out there who don't have a clue. And they would just sort of go, oh, well, I'll just go with it. Because a lot of young ones nowadays just go with the narrative and go with the trend. So, again, they're going to look at that and go, oh, well, I'll just go and vote for this one because everybody else is voting for them. And that could be the party that should not be voted in because of, obviously, they're not the right party to vote in to be in control of the country. But that's just my opinion on it. But should I think a 16 and 17-year-old should vote? Not a chance. Not a chance. But again, this is the government now. Absolutely mad. So it is. But I think it's a silly decision and they should not be allowed to vote. That's just my opinion on it. Anyway, guys, this is a really cool one I want to read out today. A Euro Millions winner. Well, all the titles are still. One of the main stories says Euro Millions winner will still eat sandwiches for lunch. Listen to this here. The winners of a €250 million, which is equivalent to £216 million, Euro Million jackpot, says they were planning to remain in Ireland but have been looking at holiday homes in the sun, which is understandable when you have over £200 million in the bank. It says here, a member of the family syndicate who chose to remain anonymous bought the winning ticket in Cork City in the Republic of Ireland while running their errands. They said that they'd recently done the lottery book but never bought a ticket for the previous 2 weeks of the Euro Millions, but despite that, they came into a massive windfall of over €200 million. Happy days. Speaking to local newspapers and stuff, despite the unexpected windfall, the family says they plan to remain down to earth. We're planning to remain in Ireland. We plan to promised ourselves that we won't let this win change us as a family. One of our family members said to a recent local paper says, I'll still be having my favourite ham and cheese sandwich every day for lunch and I'll still not change that for anybody. They says they will never change the way they are as a family and they will not let the money supposedly go to their head. Fair play to them. You know what I mean? Coming in that amount of money is brilliant. I've been asked that question many a time on social media for the podcast and stuff. What would you do, Matthew, if you woke up tomorrow morning and you had like 100 million in the bank? Would you change? No. Okay. I would make sure my family was set up for life. I would make sure my kids had everything that they needed for the rest of their days. Obviously I would buy them their first home and get them set up for life. But again, me personally, I would still have a nice, normal wee house and I wouldn't go bonkers. Now, obviously, I wouldn't live where I live anymore. I would move away somewhere. I've always wanted to live away in the country, somewhere where it's nice and quiet and out of the way and don't get harassed anymore and tortured by the busy city life, as they call it. Not that Bangor's a city anymore, because to be honest with you, it's not a city, it's a town. In my opinion, it's still a town. But yeah, fair play to this family. Fair play to them for saying, they're going to stick their guns and they're not going to change and, they're not going to, he's still going to have his ham and cheese sandwich every day at lunch. Fair play to him. And you see these people out there who win the lottery and win the Euro Millions and they become absolutely crazy and they go out and spend their money on all the load of crap of the day and they wonder why they end up being broke again. It's like, why do that? Okay, people obviously invest it. Some people do have a smart plan about it and invest and, spend it wisely and stuff like that. Me personally, I would make sure I would have my kids, most importantly, set up for life. Buy them their first home, buy them their first car. Nothing crazy, of course, but get them set up for life because they don't have a mortgage to pay or anything like that for the rest of their days, and they'll be fine and dandy and settled. And obviously set up for the rest of my family, make sure they're all sweet and sorted. Get myself a nice house, nothing bonkersly crazy, just a nice wee home somewhere out of the way. Maybe get a wee place in the country somewhere where we maybe have a couple of wee animals, maybe get myself a pygmy goat. As I said in the last podcast, guys, I love pygmy goats. Maybe get a few ducks as well for Brooke to come down, torture the ducks, and get a few other animals as well. But I wouldn't go crazy. I wouldn't go mental. Because you see all these people who win the lottery and they go out and they're spending all these big Lamborghinis and all these big flashy 6 and 7 bedroom houses. What's the point? At the end of the day, my kids are all grew up now. I'm not married. I'm not living with anybody. So why should I have 6 and 7 bedrooms when it's just me? Sorry, I'm already swig of water here. Bloody roasting in here today. Maybe I should have borrowed Lewis's new fan that he bought yesterday. Anyway, but yeah, fair play to that family. You know, they said they're going to remain grounded and they're not going to change. So they're not. So fair play to them. Right, moving on. What have we got here now to see here? Oh, yes. Children in this generation. Before I get into some of your questions and whatnot, and Jackass of the week for this week. Questions. For children. Sorry. What do children do these days, teenagers especially? Now, where I grew up in Northern Ireland, there was plenty to do. Obviously, there was no Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, smartphones, things like that. But at the end of the day, you know, I still went out and found things to do. Hang out with friends. Go to youth clubs is another big thing. Youth clubs. You know, I went to the Boys Brigade, BB, at the local church. On a Thursday night, I went to play bowls with at the local church to help out with the elderly and stuff in the local area. You know, I hung out with friends, I played football, I went out for walks. You know, I hung out with my best friend when he was still around at the time. I always used to find things to do. And I find nowadays that young ones nowadays don't do things like that anymore. And I was just reading through a wee story there recently saying the Deputy First Minister in Northern Ireland came out and said she's deeply saddened after summer camps were cancelled. And it goes in there apparently to do with it's like political reasons and all that there, but I don't really want to get into because it's just a load of crap. I don't really get involved in politics as much. Like I do talk about it sometimes, but I don't like to try and get too in depth into it. Sorry, but summer camps, like summer school, and you know all these different things that we used to go to when we were kids. You know, you used to go to the community centre in the summer for summer school, and you used to go down, or summer camps and all, and you used to go down and meet new kids and all, and you used to go off for wee day trips and all for the day. And during the winter time, you went to the community centre for, you know, youth clubs and all these different. They're not around no more. Where have they gone to? Now, I don't know what it's like in the mainland, in the likes of Wales, Scotland, and England, or even down south. But I very rarely now see things like that for kids. I mean, who was I talking to the other day? I was talking to someone the other day, I can't remember who it was. And I was saying, even at Christmas time, I just remember in the morning times, getting up on Christmas morning as a young lad, and going out into the street and you'd see all the boys with their new bikes and the girls with their bikes and their rollerblades and all that there. You don't see that no more. I find now this generation of children don't have those outlets anymore. And all they do now is seem to just sit in the house with a mobile phone screwed to their face and going, oh, yep, gotta go on Instagram, gotta go on TikTok. Where is all these things for kids to do? And they wonder why they get bored easily and they go out and do silly things because they're bored and there's nowhere for them to go anymore. And they all say, oh, but times move on and things are not like that no more and blah, blah, blah. Let me tell you something. There's a lot of teenagers out there now who would thrive on having somewhere to go. You know, like a local community centre or a church or something like that there. Get them involved in the community more. Get them to do more things like we used to do back in the day. Instead of just banning them a phone and having them sit in front of an iPad or a phone all day. You know what I mean? And I've seen a couple of people talk about this recently online as well, saying, you know, not a lot of people even do things like that anymore. And I feel sorry for this generation of kids because, you know, there's things that they're missing out on that we used to do. You know, and when you see these kids now, like I used to go out and hang out with my friend and stuff like that, and we used to sit around at night on a weeknight and sit in a wee stepped area, which you've seen photographs of me and him on my social media when we were younger. And we didn't bore anybody, we hung out and stuff like that. But when you see these kids now hanging around in groups, not them all, but they hang around in groups and they're all stuck on phones. Say there's 10 or 12 of them down there and they're all on their phones. And you're like, whenever we had a mobile phone back in the day. Like I done a vlog recently on my YouTube channel where I bought my first ever mobile phone again from 1997, 6. And we couldn't go on social media. All we could do was text and ring. And it cost a bloody fortune to do it. But these ones now, you walk past a crowd of kids and they're all standing on their phones. Or they're posing for pictures, or they're taking pictures with filters on it. Why do people have to always take photographs with filters? It does my head in. But again, there's no youth clubs much anymore. There's no local activities for kids to do anymore. You know, down to the basics. The basic stuff to keep kids active and keep them busy, instead of being cooped up in a bedroom, stuck on a computer screen all day. And this is where I love about Lewis and Brooke. They get up and do things, because I've taught them from they were younger. Yes, they have their phones. Yes, they have their computer games and stuff like that. But they get up and they go out. They get up and be active and go out into the world, instead of just being constantly. Now, there's times in recent years I've said to the two of them, guys, put your phone away. You don't have to have your phone glued to your face every 5 minutes. You know, Lewis especially at the minute, he's just constantly texting his mates and like, Lewis, put the phone away for 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Please. Even yesterday we were out about and stuff like that, and okay, I pulled my phone out a couple of times. I wasn't vlogging as much as what I normally would do in Belfast, but I managed to get 3 videos out of Belfast. But I didn't video as much as what you think. But the point is, you know, these young ones nowadays need to get out there more and appreciate the little things in life and the things that really mean the most, instead of being stuck to a screen or cooped up in a house. You know what I mean? Christmas Day breaks my heart even now as a parent. I look at the Christmas morning, and it's very, very rarely now you would see kids running up and down the street now on a new bike or rollerblades or, all these different things you used to do outside. God, I remember waking up on Christmas morning and seeing boys out in the street playing football in their new football kits and all, and they loved it and all. You don't see that no more. And it's really, really sad. It actually is really, really sad. But obviously time moves on and things change and things like that with the times and all that there. But it's the basic stuff for children in life that they're missing out on now. You know what I mean? And it's really, really sad. Now, there's still probably a lot of kids out there who do live their life like that, where their mum and dad maybe does send them off to a youth club or a GB or a BB, or I used to send Brooke and Lewis to campaigners. I used to send them off to the different wee groups and stuff like that. I used to send them to Sunday school, which they hated. I actually sent a photograph to Brooke a few weeks ago on a text saying, her photograph them two singing in the choir. And she says, I just wrote back laughing, and a wee heart. You know, it's like wee things like that. You know, I know for a fact that my dad used to send me to Sunday school so he could get his head shot for 2 hours so he could watch the big match on TV. Yeah, it's true. I wind them up. But yeah, no, the point is, kids nowadays need to be out there more now and doing more things than, being cooped up in rooms and sitting on phones, constantly. But again, this is the world we live in now, and it's really, really sad. Now, I fear for the future, but again, it's just my opinion. So it is. It's just my opinion on it all. And again, I hope there is a lot of parents out there nowadays who are trying to get their kids to be more active and get out there more and do more things, you know what I mean? So, but I just thought I'd bring that up today because I saw that thing over here about summer camps and all being cancelled here in Northern Ireland, which is quite sad. It was a cross-community camp as well. And before I end that, cross-community camps have been going around for decades. Give you an example. My dad, back when he was, 14, 15, went on a cross-community trip to Norway. And back in them days in the 70s, cross-community trips were big things. There were a lot of people didn't want to send their kids because of the whole conflicts going on here in Northern Ireland at the time and all that there. And I think maybe dad's parents were a bit sceptical about him going and all too, but he went and he said it was one of the best things he ever done. And here's the funny thing about it. My mum was supposed to go on that trip too as well before they met each other. I think they were about 14 at the time before they met. Mum and dad met when they were 15. But this is when dad was 14 and mum was supposed to go on that trip as well, but she didn't go. So then they didn't meet until a year later after that trip. So they could have actually met on that trip originally, but they didn't. So it was maybe a bit of sort of like God working in mysterious ways that he didn't want them to meet until another year later. Strange, isn't it? But Dad went on that trip, and that's one thing I've always tried to find is a photograph of that trip, because Dad said there was a photograph taken outside a hotel in Belfast of the kids from both sides of the community, and it was apparently it was in the Belfast Telegraph. So I've been trying to hook that picture out for years. I may actually have to go to the Belfast Telegraph offices to try and find that picture, because I would love to find it and print it off and give it to Dad and say, look, listen, There you go, there's your photograph. Because it was definitely in the paper. Because he remember his mum and dad banned the paper. And seeing the photograph of him in it, I would love to see that picture. I really, really would. Love to see that picture. But anyway, moving on, guys. I want to move into some of your emails. I've got some interesting emails to read today. We see where are we? Yes, if you want to contact me, guys, moving forward, you can contact me by email, which is moorarmypodcast@yahoo.com. And also the social media links as well. I would appreciate it. So let's get the emails open. That's one thing I didn't open this morning was the emails. So I do apologise. I opened up the Instagram and the Facebook, but I forgot to open the emails. And I just realised that as I was coming closer to it. Because I looked down here at my iPad and I went, oh, shit. Sorry. Where we go here, see. Right. I've one here from, it's hard to even, is it Abraham? Aoibhinn. Abraham. Is it Abraham? I think I'm not too sure. Says here, hi Matthew, hope you're well. I'm a student at Trinity University and your vlogs are a great to watch on breaks from studying. Thank you very much for that. I'm a big wrestling fan and I was just wondering who was your wrestling crush growing up. Haha, I know exactly who that is. And if you had a wrestling crush now, who would it be? I fancy Rhea Ripley. Okay, fair enough. Thank you for your time and hopefully answering this question. Who was mine growing up? When I was a teenager, it was Sunny. Not so much now, though. She's looking horrible and she's actually in jail at the minute, too, which is sad. Do I have a crush at the minute? No, not really. But I used to like, and in my early 20s, it was Stacy Keibler. Any man out there listening to the podcast doesn't know who Stacy Keibler is, go and search her up. She's done like TV shows and all nine, Dancing with the Stars and all nine. She looks identical to what she does now compared to what she did 20 years ago. And she's one of them celebrities that's never had any work done to her body, whether it be plastic surgery or whatever. And she was dead tall, and her legs were long legs. So she's famous for being dead tall and her big long legs. But she was just naturally beautiful. Naturally, but just a beautiful woman. And she was so old school, and people used to look at her and go, she's probably out on the road and sleeping about and all different men. No, she's not. And she's actually an entrepreneur now, and she's a married woman with kids, and she's stunning. Absolutely, just naturally beautiful. I would put her in the category of like a Jennifer Aniston. Just naturally, just ages like a fine wine. Beautiful woman. Beautiful woman. But yeah, hope that clears that up for you. And thank you for taking time out of after your studying and stuff to watch the vlogs. It's nice to obviously hear people actually still watch. Right, where are we here? Let's have a look here and see. Right. One here from Davey. Davey says, hi Matt, long time listener and viewer, but first time reaching out to you. Well, thank you for taking your time. Love the vlogs and the podcast, especially since the Unleashed one, and you can say what you want. He actually goes in here to say F the lefties and the trolls. That's his opinion. He says, where are we? I agree with a lot of your views, and I am a proud right-winger, which people always say to me all the time about being right-wing and all. I'm not anything, I'm just me. Which people get mad at these days, it's crazy. Just wondering, do you consider yourself a right-winger? I never used to see myself as a political, and in some ways I still don't. But the more I read and learn, I find the right-wing politics are the thing that seems to be natural, and I agree with. So that's my question. Are you right-wing? Also, up the Blues. Must be an Enfield fan. See, to be honest with you, Davey, people say, I think, like, even that troll the other week making that fake email address and all saying, call me right-wing Moore. Look, listen, I don't like lefties for a reason, as they're called lefties or right-wing, whatever it is. And you can call me right-wing extremist, I don't care what it is. I'm a realist, as I like to call it. It's the people who swing to the far left who are these agenda-driven people, in my opinion, where if you don't agree with what they say, they try and obviously, cancel you or whatever. Like, there's people at the minute, like comedians and all, trying to get cancelled by the far left and all. Listen, I don't want to get involved in politics. I only talk about it. I don't agree with a lot of it. There's even ones on the right side. I don't agree with some of their stuff as well. I don't call myself right or left. I call myself a realist. I call a spade a spade. If I see a lefty do-gooder, as they call them, champagne sippers, all them looking down their nose at me, do you think I'm going to stand and put up with that crap? Not a chance. I'm going to call them out on it and say, no, I'm sorry. I don't agree with what you say. Oh, but you should be cancelled then. Well, that's your opinion. Have a nice day. Walk away. Some things on the far left, as they call it at the minute, are a bit crazy and out of hand. But again, that's just the way they want to live their life. Everybody has their own opinion. Everybody has their own way of life and stuff like that. But to answer your question, do I consider myself far right? No. I'm a realist. I just call a spade a spade. And if these lefties, as they're called, want to come in and try and cancel me and say whatever, I'm going to stand up to them and say, I don't think so. No. Don't like my opinion? Sling your hook. Anybody doesn't like it, then there you go. But anyway, David, obviously, thank you very much for your very long email. Appreciate it. It's just obviously a lot of people are sort of going more to the right now, because of obviously all this, as people keep saying on the mainstream media and TV and all and everywhere else, saying this far left extremism and all this here and everything's going woke. And I've talked about this many times in the podcast. I think a lot of stuff's going woke now, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. I talked about it on Tuesday's podcast there, the programme Byker Grove's returned the screens again. And I went on the other night there and had to read through some social media posts and comments on different websites and stuff. And majority people from that generation who grew up watching Byker Grove from the early 90s and stuff are saying, please don't bring it back woke. Please don't bring it back about agenda or about identity or gender or anything. Just let it be the way it was. But then again, if you let it be the way it was, then back in them days compared to TV nowadays, people easily get triggered and offended, and then there'll be a whole big... This is where I think social media is mad and the world's going crazy sometimes. But anyway, thank you for your message. I appreciate it. It means a lot, obviously, getting an email from you. Right, here we go. Where are we going here? Right, I've one here from Kelly from Belfast. I actually remember reading this the other night when she sent it to me. This is an interesting one. It says, hi Matthew, I have a question for the podcast. I think schools should introduce... See, everybody seems to be going about political. And this is what I want to read about this here one. I think schools should introduce fake news detection lessons so that they learn how to identify fake news from the mainstream media. Well, I would agree with that in a certain way, yeah. Since the woke left is targeting children, they should be taught from primary school, in my opinion, how to spot leftist propaganda to stop them becoming brainwashed. Do you agree with this? Do you think that teachers would get this right, considering some of the liberal nonsense we see in school these days? And that's Kelly from Belfast. Kelly, listen, the mainstream media is the biggest pile of bullshit, and I'm sorry, I'm just going to call a spade a spade. The crap that they report at the minute is horrible. And I think, yes, I would agree that kids should be taught to, as the old saying goes, smell bullshit coming from a mile away. And again, I've taught my kids, never believe everything you see on the news. And I'll tell you a story. Sorry to go off subject with your question, Kelly. I do apologise. My mum's the worst for it. She grew up in a generation where the 6 o'clock news at night and the 10 o'clock news was gospel. It was like preaching to people back in the days of the Troubles and stuff. What you saw on the news was it. It was the truth, no matter what. Oh, it must be true. It's on the news. And my mum still to this day says to me, oh, I saw this on the news. And I keep saying, Mum, the mainstream media right now is the biggest crock of shit ever. Don't listen to it. Especially the BBC. Look at the cover-ups and all they've done over the years. And she's like, oh, but it must be true if it's on the news. I mean, Mum, do anything for a story. Journalists nowadays do anything for a story. And it's true. Not them all. I know a lot of good journalists in this country who are good people and legitimately report the truth. But again, there's a lot of other ones out there who report complete nonsense. And again, I understand where you're coming from, Kelly, in your email here saying, they are targeting schools, kids, trying to brainwash them. I've talked about this in the podcast before. Like, I remember I think I mentioned it the other day, or was it last week again? That school in Leicestershire trying to sit them small children down to read books about Grandpa's pride. I'm sorry, but if that was my Brooker Lewis, I'd be straight up that school raising hell. forcing that crap onto my kids. I'm sorry, but no. Children should be children. Kids should have a childhood. Let them enjoy their time at school. Stop feeding them all this crap that's going through. And, you say in your email here, Kelly, about being brainwashed and all out there. Yeah, not all schools, but there's some schools out there. I mean, I've seen stories on the internet of these guys coming in dressed as women and going into schools, teachers, and saying, "Oh, I'm Miss. You're a bloke." And these kids are looking at this and they're confused and they're going, "What do I believe? What do I not believe?" And then there's not all schools, but they're trying to pump this crap into kids. And then God love the school teachers who are genuine school teachers. I've got friends who are school teachers and they're going, these kids are coming into school and they're confused and they don't know what to say and what to do. And then they're glued to phones from no age and they're seeing all this crap on TikTok and Instagram and all these weirdo, creepy influencers are out there pumping all this crap into their wee heads. But then they're going into school and then the teachers who are genuine teachers are trying to teach them the right way of life. And the kids are confused and they don't know which way to turn and they don't know what way to do. And that's why kids nowadays are all confused. Oh, am I gay? Am I straight? What gender am I? Am I this? Am I that? And you're like, what the friggin' hell? But Kelly, thank you for your email. I appreciate it, darling. It means a lot. I don't know what your experience is with schools here in Northern Ireland. Obviously, you're from Belfast, so. But you said about bringing in fake news detection lessons. I've always taught my kids, never believe everything. Again, everybody, there's no saying go as well. There's never a fire without, or smoke without fire, whatever it is. But in recent years, especially since the start of COVID, all this fake news and all one-sided agenda, and there's certain things that the mainstream media does not report, but they should report, which annoys the hell out of me. But again, I could talk about this all day. My mum irritates the life out of me. I talked about my mum there a minute ago when she says, "Oh, it was on the news, it must be real." No, you have to believe what it says. And I'm going, why do you believe this? If it's a certain story about a certain thing, stop believing it. Just if it does it affect you? No. If it affects your life, then yes, look more into it. Have a look into more of it. Ask questions. Make phone calls. Whatever you need to do to obviously look into that situation more. But if it doesn't affect you, then why get worried about it? The mainstream media, in my opinion, is just corrupt to a T. That's why you see a lot of guys who have left the mainstream media are right now doing independent work. People who tell the truth, people who call a spade, people who are covering stories that the mainstream media won't cover. It's like a narrative. You know what I mean? But again, Kelly, in closing, about kids being brainwashed, now you say, yeah. It's to do with the internet and what they see on the mainstream media. You know what I mean, as well. It's just, it annoys me as a parent. And I would hate to have, I'm glad my kids are at an age now. I would hate them be in primary school right now. Like young primary school kids now. Especially after the whole COVID lockdown thing where the world just went absolutely bonkers. But Kelly, thank you for your question, darn. I appreciate it. And thank you for taking your time to listen to the podcast every week. And I don't know why you didn't say anything about your own kids or anything out there, whether they're going through that type of behaviour in their schools or not. I hope they're not. But again, if you have anything else you want to ask me or say to me, obviously drop me another email. I appreciate it. But thank you for your message. It means a lot. Thank you so much, darling. Right, let's get into some Instagram messages. Right, where are we here? Instagram. Oh, my throat's really... This room is absolutely baking today. Right, here we go. Instagram. Right, open. Ta-da! Right. Right, there's the message I was telling you about. It comes from Macaulay. 5278 says, is there anything you would change about the social media world? Fuck. Where should I start? Right, I was actually talking about this to Lewis. Sorry, please take a drink here. Because Lewis had one of his social media accounts closed down one time for some reason. I don't know what it was. Somebody reported his account or something. And he obviously had to fight to get it back, but he got it back. I think it was his Instagram. My opinion on what I would change about social media, especially Twitter or X. because Twitter is the most vile, toxic platform in the world. I think people should show and prove who they are before they have an account. Because the amount of trolling and online bullying now is absolutely horrendous and fucking disgusting. Some of the stuff that I've had sent to me over the years too as well. You should prove who you are before you have a social media account. Because people should be held accountable for their actions. Especially bullies and trolls. I always vividly remember the story from the time Robin Williams passed away in 2014. The amount of abuse his daughter received from this online troll on Twitter. Or X, I keep calling it Twitter. And he was hiding behind fake accounts. And the CID in America and the police force and all that there got involved. And they had to weed through, they had to literally beat Twitter's door down to get in contact with this guy. And that guy went to jail because of it. You know what I mean? And I've even said this before on my YouTube channel, guys. I've had to prosecute people myself because of online hatred and trolling. People attacking my home. People attacking my kids. All because of social media. These people should be ratted out and named and shamed. And this is what I do now as well. I share screenshots on my Instagram now. People want to come in and be really nasty about me and my family and make accusations. I'm going to name and shame you. So I personally think, to answer your question, people on social media should have to prove who they are, first of all. I'm not saying take money to their bank or prove it. Just identity, prove exactly who they are to the platform, who they are. So if they do go online, obviously everybody has, I'm not saying about people that have opinions and different things, not there. People are going to leave cheeky comments. People are going to argue each other on social media, which is, that's never going to change. But what I'm saying is, for the people out there who are completely bunkers and harass people to the point where they're wanting people to kill themselves, like that time Robin Williams' daughter. I remember seeing some of one of them American websites. I was reading the screenshots of what he was sending this daughter, or Robin Williams' daughter, because Robin Williams obviously committed suicide back in 2014, where he took his own life by hanging himself. This guy was tweeting this girl, his daughter, saying he should have hung himself a lot sooner and all, and, you know, she should go and do the same and all. And they found that guy, and he ended up in jail for I don't know how many years he got for it in jail. But what I would change about social media, to answer your question, Macaulay, on Instagram, there is people need to identify themselves who they are before they have a social media account. Because there's far too many fake profiles out there. And you may think, but then people will set up saying who they are and all that. Show their identification, whether it be an ID card or a passport or something like that, or prove who they are. Even add their card details. Now, not charge them, but charge them because obviously their bank account's linked to who they are. So if they do something really inappropriate, like really, really bad on social media, then at least they can be tracked and obviously tracked down for what they're doing. So it's a whole big discussion you could talk about. But again, it's social media. You know what social media is like. It can be a cesspool at the best of times. Right, here we go here. This is a funny question here from William. Hey, Matthew, what do you rather do? Watch the darts or watch the golf this week? Darts. Swig of water to celebrate the darts this weekend. I know the golf's on at the minute here in Portrush, but the way the weather's going the next 2 or 3 days, apparently it's going to be horrendous with rain, so whether it's going to go ahead or not, I don't know. And plus the prices down there, we talked about that in Tuesday's podcast, but yeah, definitely the darts for me. No doubt about it, the darts. So, but thank you for your question. I appreciate it. Patrick on Instagram has said, hey Matt, love the podcast, keep up the good work. What's your plans for the winter months ahead? What's my plans for the winter months ahead? Winter months? Well, I'm back in football probably then. Probably football, that's about it. Go to Liverpool games, work, spend time with my kids, my family. That's pretty much it. But thanks for your question. I'll do one more here on Instagram before we move over to Facebook. Right, one here from... There's quite a few actually in replies to my story. One here from Rosie. Rosie on Instagram has said, hey Matthew, just recently tuned into your podcast for the first time. Must say I actually if you enjoy it. It's good to hear another Northern Ireland person who is popular on YouTube do a podcast. Are you ever considering doing a video podcast? You've probably been asked this before, but we'd like to see you sit at a wee table and talking and see you in person. Keep up the good work. Yes, I am going to do a video podcast. People keep harassing me all the time, when are you going to do it? It's coming, trust me. It's coming. Give me time. It is coming, but thank you for your message. Right, here we go. I'll go over to Facebook now and jump over here to the Mirror Army Facebook page. If you want to follow us on there, guys, please. I would appreciate it. Right, here we go. Mirror Army on Facebook. I've one here from Kathy. It says, "Hey Matt, how's it going? Love the vlogs. I just recently, she actually sent this to me last night. Just recently seen you were in Belfast yesterday. I was raiding. I didn't get to see you. I work in the city centre and I have to keep an eye for you. I must have knew it at the last minute last night whenever you posted your first video. Whenever you're in Belfast again, let me know, because I'd love to meet you in person and get a photograph just to wind my husband up." Brilliant. Not a problem. I'll post a photograph or something. I'll let you know before near the time I'm going to Belfast. Brilliant. Absolutely love it. Wind your husband up. That's terrible. Shouldn't be winding up your husband. He's a good man. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Right, I'll do one more here on Facebook before I go. Right, I have one here from John saying, "Hey Matt, how's it going? Love the podcast. Quick question for you. What's been your all-time favourite TV show of the 1990s? Keep up the good work, John. Favourite programme of the 90s? Good God almighty, now you're talking. Oh my God, gee whiz, the 90s. Obviously watched Only Fools and Horses in the 90s. Obviously I watched my wrestling back in the day as well in the 90s. Good goodness me, there's that many. It's hard to pick out one. Favourite programme in the 90s? Oh my God, I can't even remember. There was that many. Sorry, I'm sorry. See, I grew up in the 90s watching all the old game shows and TV shows, and you know, I used to love all them types of shows and whatnot. Probably Del Boy, because Del Boy was around from the 80s and the 90s and then obviously into the early 2000s before it finally ended. But I used to watch all the old stuff back in the day. The 90s was such a great time. I have a friend of mine from Scotland, Katie. Big shout out to my friend Katie. We talk about the 90s all the time. We said if we could hit a switch and change it, we'd go back to the 90s tomorrow. It was such a simpler time and an easier time, and there was no social media or nothing. It was just a way of living life. Now, there's my brother, for example, and I would talk about that there, social media. He rants and raves me all the time. He's never been on social media in his life, and he had no intention to, but he said to me, you know, you could still live in the 90s if you wanted to. I says, what do you mean? He says, just get off social media. Don't have a smartphone. Have a basic phone. Just live your life normally. And just get on with your life. And I went, that's actually a good point. You know, it's like, because my brother's never been on social media. He's got a basic phone, obviously a bit of a smartphone, but it's not like one of the high-tech iPhone 18s or if it's all nice 16 or 17, whatever. He's never been on social media. He only watches YouTube shorts. He doesn't watch YouTube videos. He used to watch a couple of YouTubers. He never really watches TV as much as what most people do nowadays, and he just lives his life. And he says, I have a basic life and I'm happy with that. So fair play to him. Anyway, thank you for your question. I appreciate it. Right, it's now time to go on to the time of the week, which a lot of you have been contacting me about this Jackass of the Week thing. So it's now time, before I head off on down to the sunset for the weekend for an hour week here in the podcast, it's now time for the favourite time of the podcast that I love. It is now time for the Mirror Army podcast, Jackass of the Week. There he is, Mr. Boris. Boris the donkey. I actually got an email about that last week saying, why did you call that donkey Boris? That's ridiculous. You're insulting Boris Johnson. Listen, everybody says to me why I do all these things. I asked the listeners, what they want, and I asked them a long time ago, what should we call the donkey? And people called him Boris because Boris Johnson was the Prime Minister at the time. And they all hated him because they thought he was a donkey and a goat because he was running the country so bad. So, yeah, there you go. That's why he's called Boris. Before I announce this, another swig of water. I am absolutely baking here today. I've got two windows and everything open and it's roasting. Should have borrowed Lewis's fan. He bought it yesterday. But yes, guys, a lot of you have been contacting me since I said to you to do so. Who do you think the Jackass of the Week for this week should be? And I think he's just literally put himself into that position even further, number one, further ahead after the announcement being made today about this whole voting thing. But yeah, especially after last week's antics. No, too. A lot of you have said to me, different people, different things, and different TV personalities and all there. Love Island, another one too as well. A lot of Love Island people have contacted me, and people are saying, why am I talking about Love Island on the podcast? I don't watch Love Island. I would rather pull out my teeth, or I would rather sit in the garden and count the blades of grass in the garden, or watch paint dry. I don't watch Love Island. So that's why I'm not talking about it. But a lot of you have been saying their names of people in Love Island who should be Jackass of the Week. I don't even know who they are. I don't, because I don't watch it. I don't watch it. But anyway, a lot of you have been contacting me, and this person wants to bet a landslide. So the Jackass of the Week for this week is, can I get a drum roll, please? Thank you very much. The Jackass of the Week for this week on the Mirror Army podcast is our beloved Prime Minister Keir Starmer. No surprise. No, especially more so today, with them obviously announcing 16, 17-year-olds to vote. Plus he couldn't run a bath instead of a country. But a lot of you have been saying some of the stories that he's been saying in Parliament this week and stuff like that, and a majority have said Keir Starmer. It's legit though, a lot of these have contacted me about him. But let's try and mix it up for next Thursday, guys. Let's try and mix it up and get somebody different. Who do you think, somebody you've seen on TV or a local celebrity or whatever, anybody who you think that should be named the Jackass of the Week for the Mirror Army podcast, let me know. Get in touch, mirrorarmypodcast@yahoo.com or the social media links. But a lot of you this week have said more so, and I've had a couple of emails this morning about it before I turned the microphone on, saying that Keir Starmer should be Jackass of the Week because of this whole voting thing. But you guys make the decision, not me. You're the one who calls the shots, not me. Anyway, I'm going to go now because it's now time to go and get this podcast put out. Guys, stay tuned over the next day or two. There's more videos coming from Belfast. I'm going to be dropping one here this afternoon where we watch some live street entertainment. Yep, we ran to the famous Singing Elvis of Belfast yesterday. We saw a guy who was juggling fire, yeah. And we also saw a guy who was a really cool guitar player. The street entertainment in Belfast. Plus we go for dinner. And I get the face burnt off me as well having my dinner. So it's the next one coming up. And then after that, the one from the gun shop, or the shop we found in Belfast that sells dartboards and these really cool airsoft guns and stuff like that. It's a really good piece of footage in there. Plus, guys, I'm going to tell you now before I go, I went to the Liverpool shop yesterday and I saw some stuff outside the Liverpool store in regards to Diogo Jota. Liverpool fans leaving stuff outside the shop. I'm going to put that in another video as well coming up. So I may actually have another 3 videos coming from Belfast. So, and I'm also going to be recording stuff over the weekend. Plus, I'm hoping to get into a football game at the weekend. So I've got a pretty busy weekend ahead of me, and I'm hoping the weather stays okay. So tonight, because of all the videos now edited and all, I'm ready to rock and roll, I'm taking the night off to myself tonight, and I'm going to go and have a cold beer. And I'm going to have a cold beer for you guys and say cheers for supporting the Mirror Army podcast and supporting the YouTube channel. So thank you very much for that. And I may even post a couple of pictures on Instagram later on just to say thank you for all your support. It means a lot. For people to take their time out of their day to listen to me here on Spotify, TuneIn Radio, Apple Music, whatever you're listening to me on, YouTube, whatever. Guys, I appreciate it. It means a lot. And thank you for all your questions. I love your questions and I love communicating with you all. I would love to meet you all in person, but there's too many of you. And people keep asking me about meet and greets and all in the future. Would anybody really want to turn up and listen to me talk for an hour or two? Would they really want to come to see me? No, I don't think they would. Anyway, guys, if you want to get in touch for next week's Tuesday's podcast, I'll put stuff up on social media over the next few days. The email address, as you all know, mirrorarmypodcast@yahoo.com. Check out the website, mirrorarmy.co.uk, for all your merchandise for Mirror Army and all that stuff on there. All the good stuff's on there too. And our good friends at FTBL Spot for all their football stuff as well. Check them out, guys. I really would appreciate it. If you're listening to us here on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, guys. Drop a like in this video. It means a lot as well. Help support the podcast channel as well. Right, I'm off here now. So until next Tuesday, have a great weekend. Enjoy yourselves. If you're out and about and you're having a night out in the town or whatever, be careful. Don't drink too much. I'm only winding you up. Have fun. I'll be in touch with you all over the weekend. Any other messages that I've got for today, I'll try and respond to as many as I can over the weekend, as I always do. But thank you very much for all your support. It means a lot. And until Tuesday, guys, enjoy your weekend. And I'll see you back here for another episode soon of the Marami Podcast. So until then, have a great weekend. See you all soon, guys. Thanks for listening.